Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
This is episode 989
Oh my gosh.
of the greatest show for real estate ever to hit YouTube
Okay.
for 14 years.
There you go.
We were actually at one time ranked in the top 10 channels of real estate like 12 years ago because there weren't that many people doing it. Somebody put us on I was at a conference and I saw our name on the list. I was like, how did they even know about our channel? But they went by like views or something, subscribers, I forgot. Our name was on there. We were like 7th out of 10 or something.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So we're going to jump right into this first one here. There's some things happening in the market that are causing people, namely crash bros, that say that housing's going to crash, whatever, right? And home prices are going up again. So they can't use and we have low inventory. So those two things they can't really use as prices crashing or inventory bubbling. That's what a bubble is, right? Mm-hmm. And there was someone famous, I think it was Warren Buffett. Didn't he say that you can't pop a negative bubble or something like that? A shortage can't pop.
Okay.
Something like that, right? Okay. So what they're going with now are the foreclosures. Mm-hmm. It's the foreclosures because they understand that the average person doesn't really understand how that works, and it's like a big mystery. They can just make stuff up, right?
Well, it's less that, and I think it's more that they can spin it. It's very difficult to spin the fact that there isn't any inventory and a bubble has to do with too much product on the market, in this case, houses. There aren't enough houses on the market, so there isn't a bubble. We don't have excess inventory. So the next thing to hit is foreclosures. This is easy for them to spin because they just have to use the boogeyman word, which is foreclosure, and all of a sudden everybody runs for the hills. As far as the foreclosures are concerned, let's talk numbers.
Okay, so what got my attention was, because we just did a foreclosure update, we talked about the 6 or 11 or whatever, it was a super small number of foreclosures in February. It was like a really small number for the whole month in Las Vegas. And then the video was a one that said the foreclosures are coming, especially Las Vegas. And I was like, oh my gosh, like did something happen I didn't worry about? And then I went to ATTOM Data, ATTOM. They gather all the data, and they had just literally come out with their quarterly numbers. And that's where this information came from, about the rising, crazy level of foreclosure activity. So I'm going to show you this substantial increase in foreclosures. You ready? Okay, here's the chart. It says at the top, U.S. foreclosure activity continues to climb in Q1 2023. And as you can see on the left column is the total number of foreclosure filings. These are notice of defaults. So this is the first step in a process that happens over a period of time. And then as you look along the bottom, it starts in 2005 and it basically goes until 2023. Now, if you go all the way to the bottom of this chart, all the way to the right, that last little red dot is the first quarter of 2023. And if you go look really closely, you can see that it did go up, it climbed. And it's been climbing since way back there in Q2 of 2020. You could see, and so these massive percentage changes that they're talking about, that's what they're talking about. But when you step back and put this in perspective, this is like normal foreclosure filing is what you see back there, where it's at like 2014, 15, 16, where it's like 300,000 filings nationwide in a quarter, and we're at 100,000. So we're a third of what's normal. Mm-hmm. And we're well below that peak, which was the housing crash.
Right.
Now, let's talk about foreclosure filings. It's different in every state.
It is. And the timeline just varies tremendously, anywhere from a few months to a few years
We're going to talk
to
about that.
foreclose.
Okay. There's another chart that's basically the same thing. I'm going to put this one up. This is U.S. foreclosure starts. It's literally the same thing. You can see the numbers looks about the same. It's smoothed out for some reason. A foreclosure start is the start of a process. So I saw this chart in the article too. Okay, now this is the next chart. This is completed foreclosures. Now I want to talk about this really quick. A notice of default is filed, and we'll just pick a number. In a day, there are 10 filed in a city. I don't know. It could be Boise, any city, right? There's 10. Okay. Let's talk about some period in the future. Could be 3 months, could be a year later. What happens during that time frame?
Lots of things. So first of all, they filed a notice of default. So now the borrower is made aware that there's a problem and they need to work it out with their lender. So as the process moves along, the borrower has the choice of either selling the property and making the lender whole, working something out with the lender, whether it's some sort of a loan modification where they're taking whatever payments have been missed or may even be missed in the future and tacking those on to the end of the loan. So we know that FHA is doing that. We know they're taking it to 40-year mortgages for so few. If you fall behind, you can add on to your mortgage up to 10 years on the back end. So we know that that's going on. They have all kinds of loan.
There's a lot of that going on.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have all kinds of loan modifications going on. So there are all kinds of ways to deal with this. Now, what this does is it kind of spreads out this pain, right? It spreads it out so that borrowers have more choices, and it buys them time because maybe they're going to stay in the home longer, and then at some point they're going to sell it and pay off the mortgage, and that's great, and the lender is made whole, and no foreclosure happened, right? There's mediation. There are all kinds of things that happen all the way along the process, and at every step along the process, basically what happens is that number gets cut in half, which is why by the very end, you end up with almost no foreclosures.
Okay, so here's a good example. On the first chart, we were looking at maybe 100,000 foreclosure starts a year, okay? Now, we'll put this next chart up. This is the actual number of completed foreclosures, REO. What this means is this is the end of the cycle. So this some house went in default, and then it didn't sell, meaning they didn't sell it. They didn't just put it on the market with an agent and sell it, or some investor didn't sell it. They didn't get a loan mod. They didn't make an agreement with a bank. It could have been because the occupant died and there was no one there to legally do any of this, right?
Right. And this does happen. We do see that quite a bit where the family just doesn't know what to do and nobody wants to be bothered, so they just let it go.
Okay. The number of actual foreclosures that are completed is about 15,000. Okay. And if you look at this is per quarter, which the other chart was per quarter as well, which means that only about 1 in 8 actually makes it to an REO from this filing. So the scenario is you walk down a cul-de-sac with 8 houses and everyone has a notice of default filed on it. Okay. At the end of some time period, which we're going to talk about, which actually is a substantial period, you'd be shocked how long this actually takes. Okay. There's only one actually gets foreclosed. The other ones are resolved. They sell them. They say, okay, we'll do a 40-year loan, or we'll just make up the payments or whatever. They figure a thing. They borrow some money from a relative. They just catch back up, right? Which
is what I said. At every step of the process, that number halves, which is how you get to year one.
Okay. So, but you can see this is the actual number of REOs in a normal market. In a quarter, we probably have 100,000 in the U.S. We're running about 15,000 a quarter. The leading indicator for these, though, is the housing starts, which you saw were nothing. They were benign. But what they're doing is they're looking at the change from basically what I call 0 to 1, right? The minor change. And they're only speaking in percentages. But they will never show you this chart because they don't want you to have perspective. When you hear there were 100,000 foreclosure starts just in the first quarter, and you go, oh my gosh, is that a lot? 100,000 is a huge number. But if you don't put it into perspective of the 140 million home housing market in the U.S., you don't understand, right? The other thing they don't want you to know, this is the average number of days to complete foreclosure in the U.S. Now, if you look all the way over 2007, it was about 130, 40 days. Juana, what's Nevada? What did they do back then in Nevada?
We did mediation.
No, before me. This is before mediation,
2007. Before we did mediation.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was 30 days for the NOD, 90 days for the...
90 days for the NOD.
I'm sorry, it was, yeah. It was 90 days for the NOD, and then it was 180 days all told by the time that you were done.
Yeah, it was 90 days for the notice of default.
It was 30 days late, 90 days notice of default, and 180 days you were done.
Yeah, but the foreclosure doesn't count the late.
Right.
These aren't counting late. They only count the filing. So 90 days for the filing, 28 days, 118 days in Nevada. That is actually way blown up because we have mediation. And if you look at this chart, the reason this chart goes the way it goes is because these states made laws. Why did the states change these rules? Why did they do that?
Well, because a lot of their constituents were going through this. And, voters can be kind of loud sometimes. So a lot of people are going through foreclosures. So the legislatures changed the rules. They put all kinds of, whether mediation or whatever workout process in place to help borrowers stay in their homes longer and have a better shot at working something out with the banks. And all of this was actually really helpful in the end because I think the banks learned that, particularly now on the back of the pandemic, especially with the pandemic now, the banks learned that that workouts are actually more profitable than foreclosures.
Okay. My contention is that the reason we have so few foreclosures, if you look at the other chart and then look at this chart, is that it takes so long to do it that gives the people time to work it out. And here's the other thing, Juana. Let's say there are all of a sudden a bunch, because we're going to show you the Vegas numbers, there are a bunch of foreclosure starts. Remember, now you have to wait 950 days on average in the US. It's less in Nevada. It's more in New York and Hawaii, right? It's like 8 years, I think. In Louisiana is the most. It's like 7 or 8 years. New York is about 7 years. Hawaii is the same. It's like years. It takes years. Because you have to wait for a number of years to pass before you can even go to a court. Because they actually do it via a court, right? Okay, so 950 days. That's close to 3 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So even if we have the housing, they're picking up, we still have to wait 2.5 years to actually see the REO. Right.
And during that time, it's just much more likely that people will choose to sell the house and put whatever equity there is in their pocket.
Okay, so here's the next one for Vegas, okay? If you look at this was the February report. And if you go, Las Vegas is in red. They specifically said Las Vegas. There were 6, all the way to the right, trustee deeds. Those were actual, not foreclosure starts. Those were the actual number of foreclosures in the month of February. It was 6 for the entire city. Now, we can guess how many were in March because if you go back to the previous column, notice of trustee sale, they have 28 days after the notice of trustee sale. And remember, before that, the mediation and all that happened. So you actually have this huge period of time because they follow the NOD, and then this mediation process happens, and negotiation with the bank can take a long time. And then the mediator has to file this paperwork before the trustee sale can even happen, right? The notice. But it says 32. So if every single property where a notice of trustee sale was filed, we would have had 32 foreclosures in March. That's the most we could have had. We couldn't have had any more than that in Las Vegas, right? But chances are half or more of these didn't get foreclosed. So let's say it was 12. Let's say that in March the number was 12. So what they're doing is they're looking at the 6 in February and they see the 12 and they're going to say there were 100,000 foreclosures in the first quarter. And that the number of Vegas doubled, went up by 100%. It was the most in the nation. But they won't tell you the number went from 6 to 12. Or they'll show you the 6, and then they'll show you the 80 foreclosure starts for the month, the notice of default. And they'll say it's up 1,000%. Foreclosure starts are up 1,000%. Because there's no way to hold these guys accountable. And the reason I get sad about this is because we just went through this ridiculous thing where I went on a real estate mastermind Facebook group and agents were literally saying, I'm telling all my clients to tank their credit scores because the lower their credit, they actually get the higher credit people to pay a fee to them and their mortgage is less. And then I have people saying, oh, well, I have to now tell my client that he's going to expect an extra fee at closing. And then every month they'll have to pay an extra amount to his mortgage that goes towards somebody else's mortgage. Because people are all, and the guy who put out the video that I saw, who basically is piggybacking on all this fake news about the video we did yesterday, or 2 days ago. Yesterday was a housing update, 2 days ago. He had 19,000 views in a few hours.
Well, because it was such a dramatic thing, and it scared people.
The title of the video literally says that good credit borrowers are being punished with extra fees for poor minorities. And I'm like, that's completely fake. Like, it's literally not true.
Right.
So we have a couple problems. We have the problem where we have truth in real estate, and then we have people trying to make decisions with information that's completely wrong. Like, am I being unreasonable?
You're not being unreasonable, but what you're selling is not what people want to buy.
Right.
Okay, look, people want drama, and you're not selling drama.
And
This is not a telenovela. I'm sorry. This is just boring. This is, you're telling people that no, it's not going to cost them any more money to buy a house. No, you're not going to pay extra fees. No, you're not paying somebody else's mortgage. No, the foreclosures aren't raining out of the sky. None of that is exciting.
I know, but there's no recourse, meaning you could literally make stuff up, and there's almost no recourse.
Okay.
It seems like there's no recourse.
Okay, well, there's no recourse when major publications make stuff up. So why would there be recourse when YouTube, which is for entertainment purposes, when people on there make stuff up?
Didn't Fox News just pay like $800 million to settle a thing because they made up a bunch of stuff and ran with it?
Okay, but that's like once. They make stuff up like every single minute.
I know.
And it's not just Fox, it's CNN, it's the Wall Street Journal, it's the Washington Post, it's the New York Times, it's all of them. They make stuff up all the time. And even when they retract something, the retraction is so minor and is so buried that nobody ever finds it.
But they always remember the initial headline.
Absolutely.
Russia collusion or whatever it is.
Because
all of it's fake, right?
Well, whatever it is, Biden subsidizing, whomever, whatever. It doesn't matter.
He doesn't even have that whole policy is a panel, 12-person panel, and then the decision is strictly based on, they're just trying to mitigate risk.
Right. So let's get back to real estate.
Okay, let's get back to real estate because we have case.
Yeah.
We are not telling you now's a good time to buy. I don't know. I think people, honestly, they see the headline and they maybe watch 10 seconds of video and they type, why are you telling people now's a good time to buy? Okay. And we're not telling you should never sell. We definitely, look, if you're moving and you need that equity to buy the next house, sell the house.
Absolutely.
That's what we would do. I would sell a house today if I needed the equity to buy another house. If I didn't need the equity, I didn't know what to do with the money, keep it as a rental. Right. I wouldn't sell it out of fear that it's going to crash. We have some data we're working on for another video about a 1 year projection of prices. It's pretty interesting. So
if you're interested in selling your house, whether it's in Las Vegas or somewhere else, please give us a shout out and we will take care of you. There you go.
That's it. I'm done with my rant because this whole thing just set me off.
You're done.
Okay, I'm done. It just set me off.
You're done. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging in there. We appreciate you being here. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell. You get notified when the next video comes out. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be around for our 1,000th video. So that'll be really fun. Please like the video, share the video, and we will see you on the next video. And don't forget to leave us notes. We love reading your notes and responding. Bye.
Bye.